Welcome to Decker Tech. I'm Aaron Decker, and today we're doing some Across the Obelisk and talking about difficulty levels, specifically in adventure mode here, and the madnesses and the corruptors, and how that's going to affect your gameplay. So, starting off, I'm assuming everyone's played Madness Zero if they're seeing this video, but I'm just going to step through these and see what the big differences are. Difficulty 1, we're just going to see, or Madness 1, we're going to see new cards for our monsters. They're going to have more unique and special effects, maybe some more enchantments on them, that sort of thing. Just get used to these decks, because once you get to this level, the decks aren't going to change from here to the end. So this is where you start getting familiar with the unique spells the enemies have. But one of the most dramatic changes here is Madness 2, Exhaust. What this means is if you shuffle your deck during your turn, all of the cards that you draw from then on will cost one more. This also affects any cards you generate after that time through things like Chastise on healers or anything that creates a card in your hand. So this prevents you from doing infinite cycles or infinitely playing the same cards over and over, or even just drastically reducing how often you can go dig through your deck and shuffle through all your cards. So a lot of broken strategies are removed once we actually hit Madness 2 and put in the Exhaust. This is how the game's kind of meant to be, training wheels beforehand. 3, the big thing here is no chest rewards. The chest rewards were if you finish the run, you get your golds and your shard, and you can use them in future runs. That's no longer a thing, and that's not going to be a thing for the rest of the game. I think once you hit this mile mark, you're actually really experiencing the majority of what the game has to offer and what the normal gameplay should be like. We don't have infinite combos, and we're not doing chest rewards. We just have base golds and shards. So this doesn't include the perks from your heroes. We'll add to this, but this number just gets smaller as you go. So don't expect, this is where you start having limits on what you can craft and what your starting towns and your cards look like, your decks look like after each town. It's just going to be slimmer and slimmer as you go. So you're going to start finding the cards you like and picking and choosing, hey, I really need this card and I can go without those ones. And then as we go down here, heroes start with less energy. So yes, the perks are going to add some, and then the madness is going to remove some. So eventually you're just going to be starting with 4 energy at the beginning of a round, and then 3 per turn. So you can't cast an Entrench turn 1 unless you have defense mastery sort of thing going on. That's what this is going to start doing. And this will eventually go to 2, but for now this is a big hit on Madness 4. Madness 5, I think the biggest difference is deadly injuries versus serious injuries. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm pretty sure deadly injuries are injuries don't vanish out of the deck anymore. So if you get a Death's Door or the enemy puts a Hypnotize in your deck, this is going to be the fullest version of them. Most of them aren't going to vanish, and they're just going to keep cycling through your deck until you get rid of them. So injuries are a no-no from this point on. Infrequent cards reduced by 1. I think that's crafting. You can only craft 1 copy of the harder cards, and eventually they'll be removed from being crafted in general. 6, supply exchange not available. This is if you've maxed out your town and you have the option to sell supplies for shards or gold. So I guess I was wrong. This is when you really, like, I've never used a supply exchange, but this is an option all the way up till Madness 6. Once you have this, you are really locked into this. Hey, here's your limited starting resources. You're not going to have anything more than that. And then 7, the random seed, but more importantly, hero starting energy down to -2. So that, of course, is going to mean your opening salvo is not going to be as strong and guaranteed as it used to. Maybe you're going to play a lot less high-cost cards than you're expecting because you're just used to playing them in the first couple of rounds or having lots of spare energy lying around. And then, of course, 8, rare cards are disabled, and epic cards are disabled in towns 1 and 2 respectively. So you can't rely on these powerful cards to make your deck hum. You got to rely on the more basic cards and value, like small values. And of course, if you've been looking, these numbers have been going down this whole time. 6, 5, 3, 1. So you really, yes, it's not just only 400 gold to start the town because you do have the perks from your characters, but this does mean you're only about 2,000 of each. And you got to be really stingy about what you craft in the starting towns specifically, and later towns as well. And remember, as you're going through these difficulties, the monster's getting more hit points, they're going faster, you're going slower, they take less damage, they do more damage. Like, so the difficulty of the monsters is just scaling as we go, plus we're adding all those unique things that I mentioned. But I think one of the big points of this video I'm looking to do is these corruptors as well, when to take them and when it's safe to add them. Resistant monsters, don't think that 15% is a small number here, because don't forget that at higher resistances, 15% is more effective. So if a monster had 80% fire resist, and then we added resistant monsters, and they're now at 95% fire resist, they're now taking 75% less damage. I know that's a lot of numbers I just threw at you, but the higher resistance, well, I can say words. The higher a resistance is, the more effective the next point of resistance becomes. So this becomes really important that we have to add negative resistances to our opponent, specifically invulnerable or the element-specific resistance reduction. So monsters are going to just take so much less damage unless you have those vulnerable stacks, those sanctify stacks, those kind of things on them. So take this if you're feeling you're killing monsters too fast, and you'll find that maybe you need to pump out a little more damage. This is a good DPS check. Poverty, this one is, you're going to be taking a lot less, like, you'll notice this pinch in Town 2 specifically, but just the rewards, you're going to have so many less resources to craft and upgrade cards. To get around this, you're going to want to start taking divinations more seriously, maybe taking cards you're not normally used to playing just because you're going to get nothing else, like it's all you're going to have offered to you. And also taking the shop corruptors, like the shops that say, hey, a 30% discount shop if you do this corruptor. Those become much more important because that's a more effective way to spend your gold. Otherwise, you're going to find that you're not having as much items and smooth of decks as you're used to, because you've got this poverty enabled. It really, like, Act 2, Act 3 is where I really feel the pinch on this one. Decadence. This is a big deal for direct healing. To get around it, you're going to stop playing cards that say heal. You're going to start saying cards that say regen, or any of your non-Reginald healers. So Reginald kind of relies on direct healing the most, but all the other healers have another mode of healing. So Otis, it's his shields apply heals. Maluka, it's her dark applies heals. And Nezglik, it's the Madness and Sight applies heals. So those three healers get around this really well. All of them are still going to want to do regen and vitality stacks. Those are really great healing. Vitality is not affected by this at all, because remember, vitality is they get 5 hit points, which is basically heal 5, and then eventually fades away, but they keep the hit points that it gave. So this vitality is not affected by this at all. Regen is very minimally affected by it. Maybe not even at all. I'd have to double check that one. And then those passive other side healings are really good for this as well. So you're just going to start relying less on any direct heals, and you're not going to get any direct heal cards anymore, basically. Restricted power. If you're used to doubling and tripling poison, or you're getting your fury stacks to 300, it's over 9,000, that kind of stuff, that doesn't happen anymore with restricted power. You got to kind of spread out your buffs and debuffs. If you're relying on 60 bless stacks, now you have to do 30 bless and 30 mark kind of stuff. You got to kind of diversify your damage portfolio here to kind of eke out efficient DPS. This one can be a big damage check for the last boss specifically. Impending Doom. Take it. It ain't a thing. It might not even be a thing by the time you watch this movie. I mean, this video. This is a movie. Yeah, guys. Impending Doom, if you're running into it, something else is going wrong. I'm not going to lie, when I first played and I clicked on Impending Doom, I started seeing it, which meant I had a problem with my decks I was playing and the cards I was playing. Once you just have enough DPS, this is a non-factor. So this one should be really safe to pick up. You should be trying to end fights in the green zones of turns 3 and 4 anyway. Turn 1 and 2 if you can do it, but at least turn 3 and 4, so this should never be a problem. Random combats. This is where elites start coming in. Elites are fun, elites are great, elites are dangerous. They all have specific names, and you will learn their names because you will hate some of them. Some of them you will say their name in infamy every time you see them. And specifically if you turn on elite champions. The big deal about elite champions is that they come with an immunity. It used to be 3 immunities, so be thankful that it's just 1. But this really means that you can't rely on like an only fire build. Like I can't do only burning because some of these enemies are going to be immune to burning, not just the lava elementals, but like just random champions. And their hit point pools are so big, and if you don't have a diversification of damage or some way to work around that, like say Cornelius is doing only fire damage, but he's got an Evelyn to turn that into another element, then he's not necessarily relying on burn on the enemy. But if you rely on a specific debuff on the enemy to damage or heal, like Nezgalek healing is hit really hard if they're immune to sight or insanity, that kind of stuff. So you got to be really careful about building a team comp if you've got elite champions enabled to make sure that you're not going to just straight up lose a fight because the enemy is immune to, say, dark or something like that. And then overcharged monsters. This one can be a really big deal for some of the monsters that say like silence instead of just, oh, silence 1, it's now silence 2, which means 2 out of 3 rounds you're silenced. Or for the freeze corruptor, it's not just 1 paralyze, it's 2 paralyze. That's a big deal. Since freeze happens every 2 rounds and it locks you out for 2 turns, you can straight up just lose to frozen and never have a chance to play because you'll be perma-stunned. So you got to be real careful about who you're fighting and what kind of debuffs they do. And the way around this one is play more dispels. Shake it off on your warriors, dispel magic on your healers, mass dispel as soon as you need it. Normally act 2 or 3 is when we do it. I'd say 3 for sure, 2 if you can afford it. But you just need to run more dispels when you have overcharged monsters going. Anyway, I hope this was useful. I know it was just kind of lots of information really fast. So if you have any questions or you want to do anything, go ahead and ask me questions here or jump on the Discord for Across the Obelisk. Plenty of people there to help you answer that. And I will catch you later. Peace.